Welcome back to the deep dive. It's so great to have you sitting at the table with us again.
Yeah, really great to be here.
You know how we usually sift through articles or research papers, maybe some historical footnotes, to bring you the best nuggets of knowledge? Well, today we are doing something a little bit different. And honestly, it's a lot more chilling.
It really is.
Yeah. We are completely immersing ourselves in this high-tension, incredibly grim file centered around a figure known only as the Butcher of the Bottoms.
It is a dark one today, for sure. But it's an absolutely captivating look at a very specific time and place, and really the sheer terror that can unfold within it. The source materials we're pulling from, they read like a masterclass in suspense, but they are completely grounded in this gritty, hyper-realistic historical setting.
We have an unbelievable stack of documents driving today's exploration. We're pulling from a comprehensive series Bible that outlines the lore of this specific era. We also got our hands on unauthorized Kansas City Police Department emergency dispatch audio transcripts.
Document EE, yeah.
Right. And evidence recovery notes from a crime scene. A tactical map of a forgotten underground tunnel system. And a deeply disturbing handwritten surgical menu.
It is just a profound collection. It paints a complete multidimensional picture of this terrifying event, allowing us to see it from the perspective of the police, the press, and the perpetrator himself.
So the mission for today's deep dive is clear. We're going to unpack the heart-pounding pursuit of a serial surgeon. We're going to examine the chilling, precise mechanics of his mobile operating room. And we're going to try to understand the terrifying concept of behavioral probability that dictates every single move in this pursuit.
Right.
But before we get to the chase, we really need to understand the board this game is being played on.
Yeah, because we are looking at post-Pendergast 1964 Kansas City. We already know the city is trapped in that vacuum between lingering old-world mob corruption and the rising tide of modern civil unrest.
Right.
It's a city in transition. It's full of structural and societal cracks. And the physical manifestation of those cracks is the West Bottoms.
Yeah, the source describes the West Bottoms as this sprawling industrial labyrinth. We are talking about massive livestock pens, abandoned silos, and a massive network of forgotten Prohibition-era tunnels that connect Union Station all the way to the river.
Exactly.
That is the Butcher's playground. And trying to navigate that playground to stop him, we have three key players.
First, you have Detective Jack Sullivan, Sully. He's 54 years old, a chain-smoking relic of the old KCPD.
Yeah.
He operates with a pretty flexible moral compass and actually knows the local mob, the outfit, quite well. But the Butcher's quote-unquote experiments deeply offend Sully's basic sense of order. I mean, he understands standard criminal greed, but he just cannot fathom surgical mutilation.
No, of course not. Then, in stark contrast to Sully, you have Detective Marcus Thorne. Thorne is 32, and he is one of the first black homicide detectives on the force. He is college-educated, highly forensic-minded, and completely socially isolated within his own department.
Completely on his own.
Yeah, he is fighting a lonely battle. He's relying on pure science and deductive reasoning to track a killer who seems to be playing a very specific psychological game.
And rounding out the trio is Eleanor Vance. She is 30, a sharp, unrelenting investigative reporter for the Kansas City Star. She basically represents the public eye.
Right.
In an era where the police department is desperately trying to bury the reality of these crimes to avoid mass panic, Eleanor is the absolute first person to see the serial pattern.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we need to jump right into the inciting incident that sets this whole terrifying pursuit into motion. We are talking about the abduction of an heiress named Claire Montgomery, snatched right out of a high society mayor's gala.
Right out from under everyone's noses. To set the scene, we turn to Document FF, the evidence recovery notes compiled by Eleanor Vance. While the rest of the press corps is inside trying to get quotes from politicians, Eleanor is out in the Van Brunt driveway, documenting the immediate aftermath.
So picture this. The gala music is likely still thumping inside, completely oblivious to what just happened. But out in the driveway, Eleanor notes this eerie, terrifying serenity. There was no struggle, no signs of a fight, just a single blue silk evening glove left behind on the pavement.
Yeah.
Eleanor describes it perfectly in her notes. She says it was left like a shed skin.
That phrase is just so evocative. It implies a transformation has already begun, and that is exactly what makes this scenario so horrifying. This isn't just a kidnapping.
No.
It is a biological countdown. Eleanor finds a small glass vial at the scene, still cold to the touch, labeled Solution 09.
Solution 09. Just the name sounds so clinical, so devoid of humanity. I know Eleanor reached out to her medical contact, Doc Abernathy, about this. Can you walk us through what that vial actually means for Claire?
What's fascinating here is the medical reality of that vial. Abernathy confirms to Eleanor over the radio that Solution 09 is a highly specialized cocktail. It's a mixture of adrenaline and a localized anticoagulant. The butcher, who operates under the identity of Dr. Sterling or Silas Vane, wasn't just sedating Claire Montgomery to keep her quiet. The adrenaline keeps her heart pumping at a specific rate, while the anticoagulant prevents clotting.
So he is actively prepping her vascular system for what he calls integration. And he was doing it right there in the driveway before they even drove away.
He essentially turned her into a living perfusion pump.
That's terrifying.
The moment that needle went in, the mechanics of his surgery had already started.
I want you to just imagine the sheer dread of that ticking clock. You are essentially dealing with a medical emergency disguised as a crime scene. Eleanor is the one who does the grim math and relays it to the detectives. According to Doc Abernathy's analysis of that chemical cocktail, Claire has a less than 5% chance of surviving the next hour without a massive dose of a reversal agent.
Less than 5%.
5%. The moment she was taken, the hourglass was already almost empty.
It completely shifts the paradigm of the police response. They aren't looking for a hostage locked in a basement somewhere. They are hunting for an active, mobile operating table.
And you can actually hear the panic brake protocol in the unauthorized dispatch audio we pulled from document EE. Sully is frantic. He's calling out a 10:07 in progress.
Which is a huge deal.
Right. It's a direct plea for immediate medical assistance, completely abandoning any standard Gala security protocol. He's practically shouting into the radio.
Sully manages to get a description of the vehicle out to dispatch. The suspect is driving a black 1962 Cadillac Superior ambulance. But it has no markings. It has no sirens. It is essentially a ghost ship slipping through the foggy streets of the city.
The dark irony of that choice is just astounding to me. Think about the psychology of the public. If you see an unmarked black ambulance speeding away from an emergency, your brain doesn't register it as a threat.
Not at all.
You assume it is part of the rescue effort, but here, the ambulance is the trauma.
Exactly. And while Sully is focused on the vehicle itself, Thorne is analyzing the timeline. He knows about the peak paralytic window.
Right, the window.
The specific paralytic administered to Claire alongside Solution 09 peaks at exactly 30 minutes. That means within half an hour, Silas Vane needs to make his first major incision. And to perform complex vascular surgery, he requires an absolutely stable environment.
Because you certainly cannot perform a delicate arterial graft while bouncing over the potholes of a 1964 industrial district.
Exactly.
He needs dead stillness. He has brilliantly and horrifically converted this massive Cadillac ambulance into a mobile, perfectly sterile operating room. The file refers to it as the quiet carriage.
The quiet carriage.
The bizarre brilliance of his surgical perfectionism is literally dictating his escape route.
It's a terrifying intersection of tactical evasion and medical necessity. He isn't running to hide, he is running to operate. And Thorne deduces exactly what kind of environment provides 2 hours of uninterrupted stillness in a bustling mid-century metropolis.
Thorne pulls the city's old infrastructural blueprints, and that's when he spots it. The forgotten 8th Street transit lines.
Sully initially dismisses it over the radio, pointing out that the tunnel has been closed and sealed off since the 1950s. But Thorne counters with chilling logic. That is precisely why Silas is going there.
Right.
It is the only place in the entire city where a heavy vehicle can be parked for 2 hours without the vibration of overhead traffic ruining delicate stitchwork.
Let's set the scene of this destination, drawing from document GG, because it is pure nightmare fuel. We are talking about a deep-cut passage built back in 1887, connecting the downtown bluffs straight into the West Bottoms.
The tactical map outlines the layout. There are 2 entrances to this tunnel. Entrance A, the upper entrance at 8th and Washington, is completely blocked by a massive rusted iron gate. But entrance B, the lower one on St. Louis Avenue, opens directly into the heart of the Bottoms, surrounded by those abandoned slaughterhouses.
Silas essentially has a private, secluded driveway straight into a subterranean vault. Thorne suspects Silas has parked the quiet carriage right in the dead center of this tunnel, a spot the butcher calls the theater.
The theater, yeah.
And there's a horrifying reason he chose the exact center.
Thorne believes Silas is actually tapping into the dead 1887 streetcar electrical lines to power a portable iron lung.
Wow.
It shows a level of meticulous, almost obsessive planning. He has hijacked the city's decaying infrastructure to sustain his victim's life just long enough to perform his procedures.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. And by interesting, I mean absolutely terrifying. The tactical notes outline the acoustic profile of this specific tunnel. Because of its deep-cut, brick-lined cylinder construction, the tunnel acts as a massive natural amplifier.
A natural amplifier.
The blueprints state that a single heartbeat can be heard from 50 yards away inside that space.
It's an architectural echo chamber. Sound doesn't dissipate. It just bounces and magnifies along the curvature of the brick.
I want you to put yourself in the shoes of those detectives. Visualize standing in the pitch-black dampness of a closed 1887 streetcar tunnel. You are completely blind. You can't use flashlights because any ambient light will immediately alert him and risk him slipping the scalpel.
Right.
You were just standing there in the damp dark, straining to listen. And what you were listening for is the echoing, magnified sound of Silas's surgical tools scraping against bone.
The acoustic terror of that scenario is overwhelming. They aren't going to see him first. They're going to hear the surgery happening from hundreds of feet away.
And what exactly are they going to hear him doing? While the detectives are preparing to go into the dark, Eleanor Vance makes a chilling discovery near the lower tunnel entrance. She finds a discarded medical bag, and inside is a handwritten document.
This is document HH, the surgical menu, and it is arguably the most disturbing piece of evidence in the entire file. It details the exact procedure Silas is performing, an operation he's titled the Montgomery Integration.
I'm looking at the notes on this menu right now, and the specifics are just grotesque. He is literally piecing different people together. The menu dictates that he is harvesting a femoral artery from subject 641102. The records indicate the subject is a mobster known as Johnny Two-Tone.
Yeah.
He's taking an artery from a violent syndicate enforcer to graft onto Claire, a high society heiress.
It's a complete subversion of class and status. He's taking the grittiest, most corrupt element of the Kansas City underworld and physically integrating it into the city's upper crust.
It's insane.
But he doesn't start with human tissue. He's also sourcing porcine tendon reinforcements directly from the livestock pens in the bottoms to, as he writes, stabilize Claire's gait.
He's grafting animal parts onto her. The aesthetic details he lists here are, frankly, sickening. Can you walk us through what he's actually planning to do with the white silk suture he mentions?
Yeah, he specifically notes the use of white silk suture to honor the gala's elegance. It shows how deeply untethered from reality he is. He views the horrifying violence he is inflicting not as an assault, but as a bespoke tailoring experience.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals everything about his motive. The series Bible calls his philosophy biological architecture. He doesn't view himself as a killer. He views himself as a reconstructive artist.
He looks at humanity, sees inherent physical and societal flaws, and believes he has the right and the supreme ability to cut those flaws away and rebuild something better.
It is this twisted, perverted altruism. He sincerely believes he is helping Claire. He thinks he's giving her an upgrade. The document ends with this incredibly chilling justification. I'll read it exactly as he wrote it. The result: a walk without a limp, a life without a flaw. The architect provides what the city breaks.
It is the horror of a villain whose core motivation is a deeply corrupted form of care. He truly believes Kansas City breaks its citizens, whether through the corruption of the outfit, the vast class divides between the mayor's gala and the West Bottoms, or just basic physical imperfection. He sees himself as the one destined to fix them.
Right. Even if fixing them requires butchery.
It's staggering. So let's bring it all together for the climax of this pursuit. You have Detectives Sullivan and Thorne standing outside that massive rusted gate at the tunnel entrance. They are facing completely impossible odds. They are going into the dark without a warrant, knowing the police department would rather bury this case than deal with the public panic Eleanor Vance is about to unleash.
And they have absolutely no backup plan. They are relying purely on behavioral probability, the mathematical modeling of human desperation.
Right.
Thorne has calculated the odds of where Silas has to be based on the biological limits of the human body. They have bet everything on Thorne's deduction that the quiet carriage is inside, hoping against hope they can navigate the pitch black and stop the very first cut.
It is the ultimate race against time. Eleanor is monitoring the police bands, knowing that 5% survival rate is ticking down to absolute zero with every passing second. And as the documents close out the specific sequence, we are left with a vivid, lingering auditory scene.
Imagine standing at that lower entrance, and then cutting through the damp silence, you hear it. The heavy, booming sound of a metal door echoing loudly down the brick-lined expanse of the 8th Street Tunnel.
They've found it. They have found the quiet carriage. But with that echo ringing in the air, the only question left is it too late?
The file leaves us hanging right on that echo. It is a masterful buildup of tension.
This raises an important question, one that echoes long after the file is closed. When we look at Silas Fane's biological architecture, we are horrified. But it leaves you wondering about the medical advancements we enjoy today.
That's a great point.
So many early surgical breakthroughs, the foundational knowledge of human anatomy, were born from grave robbing, unsanctioned dissection, and unregulated, often highly unethical experimentation.
A heavy, heavy thought to leave you with. At what point does the passage of time wash the blood off the hands of history's architectural monsters? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the shadows of 1964. We encourage you to mull over that twisted altruism and the terrifying pursuit of perfection until the next time we open the stacks and explore together. Stay curious, and we will see you next time.